They followed the river for another day before they finally saw signs of habitation on the plains. Signs, but not life. A small farming village had been built on the banks of the river, but as Daniel and Taboo stepped around the mill, its water wheel lashed to keep it from turning. They saw no evidence that there was anyone alive, nor were there any bodies. That last was more ominous than reassuring.
Should we swim to avoid crossing the road here?
Taboo shook her head and said, "No, this is far from where we started. I don't think the Hellions from your village will pick up our trail again in time to have any impact on us. They'll follow the road down out of the mountains, and it swings wide of the river. There's a crossroads out that way, which cuts their chances of finding us at all by 2/3. I'm tired of eating salted pork and hardtack. Let's search here, see if we can find some better food."
Did this place have a name?
Daniel asked as they stepped out onto the main street. Taboo didn't answer, and he hadn't really expected her to. It was smallish and had a familiar feel despite its differences. There was a smithy, a hostelry, a stables, and a general store, along with several homes along the main street. Yet, while the village had the same general form as his own, there were many differences, the most striking of which was that the road ran out of town in both directions. It was also a bit more worn, less cared for. All that ignored the coating of ash and snow that blanketed everything. Daniel tried to imagine what the place might have looked like, bustling with people. He wondered what it would have been like to walk into this town then. He sighed as the image crumbled.
I wonder if anyone will ever live here again,
he muttered. "Depends on you," Taboo said with an idle shrug. He rolled his eyes as he glanced over at her, but she just quirked her eyebrow at him and said, "Don't mope. We aren't going to spend all day here, and we certainly aren't going to spend the night. Where should we search to find a cellar like the one you were using?"
You're asking me?
"You are the provincial, so where should we look?" Glancing around, Daniel pointed as he said,
There isn't a storehouse as such that I can see. We should check the general store and probably the stable if we want to find anything useful. There might be a better sled or at least a better harness we could use for this one.
"Stable first, then."
Why?
She glanced at him, shrugged, and strode off as she said, "It's closest."
Are we sure there are no Hellions left here?
He asked as he followed along behind, hauling the sled. "If there are, they're locked up. Hellions do 2 things, kill stuff and look for stuff to kill."
I feel like this is a stupid question, but if we run into any more animal Hellions, is that meat any good?
Her only answer was a slow shake of the head.
Yep, thought not.
As they got close, the smell and increasingly loud buzzing of flies told Daniel he wouldn't like what he'd find, but since Taboo wasn't hesitating, he didn't either. If there were any Hellions inside, they'd have set the place on fire by now. The stable doors were pulled mostly closed and didn't appreciate the effort to widen the gap, but Taboo scowled and hauled hard to one side. The door squealed on a rail made gritty with ash and ice, revealing a charnel house. He couldn't pick out details in the dim light, but it was obvious that bodies had been dismembered inside. Those bodies were still present and rotting. Daniel stopped and swallowed hard. He'd seen death back at the village, but he hadn't seen anything like this. Taboo took a few steps, then paused and half-turned as she said, "What?"
I don't need anything from in there,
he said quietly, shaking his head as he took a step back. "Oh, don't be a baby. Nothing in here will hurt you unless you're clumsy. Just keep your mouth closed so you don't accidentally swallow a fly or something."
This doesn't bother you?
He asked in mild disbelief. She gave him a hard look as she said, "No, it doesn't. The actual dead don't bother me. They don't bother anyone. They're dead. What would bother me is knowing that there might be something useful in here, and we didn't get it because you got squeamish. You said we should check here. Now come help me look." Shuddering as he dropped the harness of the sled to leave it outside, Daniel stepped into the gloom of the stable and looked around, then stepped to a nearby post as he pulled flint and a striker to light the lantern there. It was an old metal frame hung from a ring, and he pulled it down and turned to have a better look at the chaos of blood and body parts he was supposed to search for something useful.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.